Senator Durbin.
Thank you, thank you, Chair Murray, and thanks to both secretaries for being here today. Secretary Mayorkas, you said something in your opening statement which I want to return to, and that is the majority of narcotics and fentanyl coming into the United States comes in through ports of entry transported by U.S. citizens. Is that correct?
That is correct. I believe it's more than 90%.
More than 90%. More than 90% comes through ports of entry transported by U.S. citizens. As Willie Sutton, when asked why he robbed banks, said it's because that's where the money is. Isn't it pretty clear that that's where we ought to focus our efforts, at least our startup efforts, to deal with this fentanyl crisis?
Most certainly, Senator, and that is indeed where we are focusing our energies, both with respect to the deployment of technology and the law enforcement operations that we undertake.
So is the Biden administration putting their money where their mouth is in terms of asking for money that will help you fight the fentanyl crisis at the border?
We most certainly are.
Does it include not only increased numbers of personnel, but also new technology?
Yes, it does, Senator. The non-intrusive inspection technology, which is so effective in scanning vehicles of all types.
Well, I certainly agree with Senator Collins. We should be concerned at the other 10% that's coming across the border. What are we doing about that?
We are deploying our personnel to the fullest extent possible to interdict narcotics. We need our CUAS authority reauthorized. That's our counter-drone authority. The cartels seek to smuggle drugs via drones in between the ports of entry. Our counter-UAS authority expires before the end of this year. We need that dramatically.
Now, that's something we can do that makes a difference immediately.
Yes, indeed.
And certainly the administration's request for more money when it comes to fentanyl intervention at the real source is time and money well spent, correct?
It is. It saves lives.
Now let's talk about the other issue before us. We have been, during the Biden administration, overwhelmed at the border by the numbers who have come in or tried to enter into the United States. Is that correct as well?
The numbers have been unprecedented, Senator.
And can you tell me your explanation as to why that occurred?
Senator, that is not something that is specific to the southern border of the United States. That is a global phenomenon. We have the largest number of displaced people in the world today since World War II. And that is something that is gripping our entire hemisphere. There are approximately 2 million Venezuelans seeking shelter in Colombia. We have an unprecedented gang problem in Ecuador that is causing an unprecedented number of Ecuadorians to flee. We have a situation in Haiti, which is dire. This is something that involves corruption, poverty, violence, natural disasters. We are, and in a post-COVID environment, we're seeing just a level of migration throughout our hemisphere.
The first item suggested by the Republicans, if we are going to discuss immigration, is a 900-mile addition to the wall between the United States and Mexico. Can you comment on the impact of such a wall, what it might cost, how long it takes to build?
It costs billions and billions of dollars. It takes years and years to build, and it is not as effective as a multi-pronged strategy that includes critically latest technological advancements. We need a 21st century solution to what we are experiencing as a 21st century problem. It is not the time for brick and mortar. We need to meet the moment with technological innovation and our extraordinary personnel.
Let me just close by saying I've spent a large part of my Senate career on the issue of immigration. As chairman of the Judiciary Committee, it's in my jurisdiction, and I've been frustrated that we've been unable to initiate a true bipartisan effort to solve our immigration challenges and the crisis we face today. I was with the Gang of Eight, several members of this committee as well, that produced a comprehensive immigration reform which passed the Senate, was never taken up by the Republican House. I am ready to sit down again and make that work. This notion that we have to do significant immigration reform in the next few weeks or we won't send money to assist the people in Ukraine or other causes important to our national security, I think is mistaken. I agree with the chairman who said pinning our efforts in this critical area of supplemental appropriation on comprehensive reform is really not realistic. I do want to undertake that in a serious way, and I'm sure you'll join in that effort if we do.
I most certainly will, Senator.
I yield.
Thank you. Senator Graham.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I was also in the Gang of Eight, and to my Democratic colleagues, securing your border is part of the problem. We have to do more. I get that. The challenge before us is to help Ukraine. It's to help Israel. I want to do that. Majority of people in my party think Ukraine, we've done enough. I don't. If you want me to be able to vote for this, you're going to have to help me deal with the following question. Why are you so intent on helping Ukraine? You're not doing much about our own country when we have a border that's completely broken. I reject the idea this is a global phenomenon problem. I think you're misdiagnosing the problem. This is policy changes y'all instituted that I told you wouldn't work, and we now need to fix that. Trend lines, 2020, 458,000 encounters, 2023, 2.5 million. We need to change that, don't we? That trend line?
We most certainly do, which is precisely.
Fair enough.
2019 is an important year as well.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm worried about tomorrow. The highest encounters was in September. Things need to change. You agree? Like now?
Indeed, and that is precisely
All right,
why we have sought our supplemental funding and why we continue to.
Supplemental makes everything worse, not better. Okay, next. You said something I want to agree with. You told Senator Lankford that basically the asylum system needs to be reformed from top to bottom. Do you still stand by that?
I do.
Okay. What's the denial rate of asylum claims?
Well, Senator, we'd have to break it down. The asylum system has an initial screening rate. As you know, the credible
I think
fear.
the final determination is about 90% of the claims are eventually denied. Am I in the ballpark?
Senator, I believe that is inaccurate.
Okay, well, what
also think
percentage of claims
It
are?
also depends on the demographics.
No,
This
I'm
is-
asking you a simple question. You're the head of DHS, and you can't tell me how many asylum claims are approved versus denied.
Generally speaking, across the board on a macro basis, it's approximately 75%.
Okay, so if 75% are denied, would you work with me to change the initial screening standard?
Senator, I will work with you to achieve a comprehensive solution because a piecemeal solution will lead to remaining
Well,
problems.
if you're expecting comprehensive immigration reform between now, that's not going to happen. Will you work with me to fix the asylum system?
Senator, I will continue to work with you to fix the immigration system that is fundamentally broken.
Let's parole. How many people? Here's the law of parole. The DHS Secretary may, in his discretion, parole people in the United States temporarily under such conditions as he may prescribe only on a case-by-case basis for urgent humanitarian reasons or significant public benefit. There were 240,000 people paroled this fiscal year. Did you do a case-by-case analysis?
Senator, we comply with the law.
So there is a file for all 240,000 where somebody determined they meet these two criteria.
There is an individualized determination made by
On
our
all
personnel.
240,000. And I can see that.
Yes, Senator.
Okay, I'm asking for that.
Very well,
So
Senator.
in your opinion, 240,000 people were individually screened and granted parole. You're not blanket paroling people, are you?
That is correct, Senator.
Is your testimony under oath that you're not giving blanket parole from people from 4 countries?
Senator, we have
Venezuela, Nicaragua, Cuba,
and Haiti.
and Haiti. So you're telling me that you've looked at every person and you gave them parole on an individual screening basis. Is
Senator,
that what your testimony is?
Senator, we have a parole program.
No. Did you do what I asked you? Did you follow the law or are you giving blanket parole?
We follow the law.
Okay. The law requires an individual assessment.
Senator, we make our decisions on a case-by-case basis.
There's 280-something people on the terrorist watch list that we know of. Where are they?
Senator, the terrorist screening data set,
Where are the people?
the individuals whom we encounter that are on the terrorist screening data set
Are they out of the country?
are screened.
Are they out of the country or are they in the country?
Senator, they very well may be out of the country.
But you
They
don't
may be-
know. There are people on the terrorist watch list, and you can't tell me where they're at.
That is not my testimony.
Well, okay, where are they?
Senator, if you would allow me
Yeah, please.
the opportunity to answer. Individuals who are encountered at the southern border,
Okay,
who are in the terrorist screening data set,
okay.
may not necessarily be known or suspected terrorists, number one. Number two, individuals who pose a threat to our national security are an enforcement priority for us. They are the priority that are subject to removal. Also, if we make a determination that it would not be safe to the American people that they be released into the United States, we detain them pending their removal
Can you give me an
proceedings.
analysis of all 200? I know over time. Do you think you're doing a good job?
Senator, I'm incredibly proud to support the men and women of the Department of Homeland Security.
I didn't ask about them. I asked
That is
about
my answer.
you.
That is my answer.
Okay, well, I think we need to change the system, and you're completely out of touch with the nature of the problem.
Senator, I very much look forward to working with you to change the system.
Thank you. Senator Reed.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. First, let me address Secretary Becerra. Secretary Becerra, this issue has come up by my colleagues also. That's the LIHEAP program. We expect this winter heating prices to go up. We expect the number of people seeking assistance to go up. So the administration's supplemental request of $1.6 billion seems to be a step in the right direction. Do you have any additional comments in terms of how we can help people in this heating season?
Senator, first, thank you and many of your colleagues for the work that you've done to make sure that we can keep pace, because essentially what the president is requesting is to keep pace with you and many of your colleagues were able to secure last year. So we're not getting more money. We're just trying to make sure we don't fall behind because, as you know, the cost of heating is going up. The global energy crisis and the global climate crisis are having an impact for families. And so this money simply makes sure that during the dead of winter, people don't die, as we know they do, if they don't have the money to pay for heating expenses.
Well, thank you very much. And Secretary Mayorkas, could you explain the procedures at the border when you encounter someone who is on a list of possible
Senator, we screen and vet individuals whom we encounter at the border. If an individual is determined to be a public safety threat or a threat to our national security, they are a priority for removal. If we do not believe it is safe to release an individual when they are subject to immigration enforcement proceedings, then we detain them in immigration and customs enforcement facilities. That is pursuant to the policy memorandum that I promulgated on September 30th of 2021.
Now, if an individual reaches the border, your emphasis is to sort of presume, if there's any doubt at all, the worst, and to hold that person. Is that a fair?
We make an individualized determination. Our U.S. Customs and Border Protection personnel are expert in doing so. We screen and vet individuals against a number of holdings across the federal enterprise, and we make a decision of custody or not custody depending on the profile of the individual and our professional assessment based on the information we have.
And those individuals who are paroled in the United States have basically cleared this process. And in fact, typically, as I understand it, they have sponsors that will accept them, and the sponsors are also evaluated for their credibility and their reliability. Is that accurate?
That is correct, Senator.
And in fact, in many cases, the sponsors are religious organizations. That's my understanding.
There are religious organizations, there are faith-based organizations, there are nonprofit organizations, there are businesses, and there are individuals as well that serve as sponsors for parolees from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, or Venezuela. But we do indeed screen the individual potential parolees as well.
And do you have a feedback loop with local law enforcement authorities about the behavior of these individuals in the United States?
We work very closely with our state, local, tribal, territorial, and campus law enforcement partners.
Well, thank you very much. Secretary Becerra, again, this issue is touched on, but I think it's critical. We learned in the pandemic that child care was not something nice to have. It was essential in order to get to work, in order to maintain really family coherence and being able to succeed. We provided additional resources in ARPA to do that. Those resources have been exhausted. So now we have to go ahead, and I believe we are doing that in this legislation, $16 billion request to help our child care system. In Rhode Island, a local organization's calculated that child care in my state is unaffordable for 90% of families. It means that it costs more than 7% of total income. And the irony, of course, is child care workers are paid about $13 an hour, which is not exactly extravagant. So we have this dilemma. That's why I think we need to get this money out as quickly as possible. Can you comment?
I fully concur, and to save not just those families but our economy, we should get to work and getting those monies out there. It was used; those stabilization dollars kept businesses afloat and kept families with decent quality child care.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. Thank you.
Senator Moran.
Chairwoman, thank you. Thank you and the ranking member, the vice chairman, for hosting this hearing. Secretary Mayorkas, thank you for agreeing with us. Thank you for agreeing to be here, and welcome to Secretary Becerra as well. I indicated in my opening remarks last week in this room about the importance of your presence, in my view, for us to deal with a supplemental dealing with national security. And I continue to believe that the circumstances we face on our borders and elsewhere around our country continue to be a national security challenge for us. I've been to the border numerous times, particularly in the last 2 or 3 years, in each circumstance and conversations with law enforcement, federal and local, as well as my own view in talking to Border Patrol agents and seeing firsthand the apprehension of foreign nationals on our border, including those from China. I am anxious for our efforts to deal with Israel and Ukraine and the challenges we face in the Middle East, but I'm also interested in making certain that we take this opportunity, this supplemental, to come together. We've heard in this conversation this morning by a number of my colleagues how they've worked on immigration reform, border security issues reform without success. And I would hate for us to miss an opportunity in this circumstance if we can put a package together that would be supported by Republicans and Democrats in the Senate and in the House. We have seen the largest increase in migrants crossing our borders, unfortunately, in the past few years. There's many push and pull factors that would contribute to that circumstance, including deterioration of conditions in other countries, as you indicated in your opening statement. But I'm also concerned about what appears to be an attitude toward immigration pull factors, the policy decisions that suggest to migrants that making the dangerous, life-threatening journey to and across our southern border will be rewarded by being released in the United States, being rewarded by a no hearing, no ultimate outcome determination. And you recently wrote in an opinion, it was on the board here, that Senator Graham indicated he agreed with your statement, only Congress can bring immigration and border security systems into the 21st century. Are there not things that can be done in this supplemental that can address that, at least in part, that we can reach an agreement on with the administration and Republicans and Democrats in the Senate? And also, how would you change those seeking, migrants seeking asylum to present themselves at legal points of entry, limitations on parole, stricter punishment of visa overstays, to limit those pull factors and to reduce illegal immigration?
Senator, thank you very much for the opportunity. The supplemental funding request that we have submitted would assist us tremendously in our border enforcement efforts. with respect to the hiring and deployment of personnel, the procurement and implementation of technology. What we need is an encompassing solution to an encompassing problem when we speak of policy changes. For example, the backlog in immigration court proceedings has been building year over year over year for at least 10 years. That is why the time in between encounter and final adjudication of an immigration enforcement case is years and years long when we speak of a pull factor. And if, in fact, we had a path to legalization for the millions of people who've been contributing so much to this country, we would so acutely alleviate the immigration court backlog, shrink the time in between encounter and final adjudication. So it really requires a comprehensive approach to what is such a comprehensive problem.
Well, Mr. Secretary, while I might agree that comprehensive reform or changes are advantageous, it has been my experience in my entire time in Congress that we keep waiting for comprehensive reform, and as a result, we do next to nothing. And I hope that you, the administration, will use this opportunity to seriously work with those of us who are willing to make changes to defeat this circumstance in our national security, this challenge, at least in the things that we can agree upon today, continue to work on the things that we can't agree upon. Otherwise, my entire time in Congress will be waiting for comprehensive reform.